What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Dark Sage's Interlude. I'm your host, Chase the Dark Sage, and this is brought to you by Beyond Beats and Culture. And this show was basically about me kind of just talking about things, rambling, and just getting my thoughts off on certain topics in hip-hop that I can't really bring up on our show, Beyond Beats and Culture, but I do want to bring it up here, and I actually want to have it on the channel so that way we can cover all bases, basically. But before we actually get into the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already to help boost us within the algorithm. But you already saw the title, you already saw the thumbnail. We're going to be talking about Bun B today. Now, if you guys do not know, Bun B is one half of the legendary Southern rap group UGK, one of my favorite rappers. It has been my first favorite rapper ever since I really actually started getting into hip hop itself. And I just wanted to make a video about Bun B because actually like seeing Bun B's growth, even though I didn't see it all the way from like the 80s to like, you know, the 2020s, I've seen a lot of Bun B's growth when it comes to music and business ventures outside of music itself. And I just wanted to talk about it because looking back at certain careers in hip hop, a lot of rappers don't get a career like Bun B's, especially some of the OGs from back then. But I just wanted to bring some light and some shine to it because I know maybe a lot of people don't know about UGK. Maybe a lot of people don't really know about Bun B like that. But to me, he is a rap legend that definitely deserves his flowers that really isn't talked about enough, especially with some of the things that he did musically within the space itself. But let's go ahead and actually talk about it. And we're not going to really talk about UGK's legacy because that could be a video on its own if I really wanted to do something like that, because UGK as a group was already super impactful, super influential, especially when it comes to Southern rap. I mean, shoot, they was basically pioneering the trap rap before trapping became an actual thing. Pocket full of stones, pimping, being a gangster. That was all of them. Certain artists like Gucci Mane, Young Jeezy, T.I. looked up to people like UGK, took inspiration from them, and kind of did their own thing. So, like I said, I could do a whole video if I wanted to about UGK. I just don't really want to visit them first two albums because, yeah. But in this video, we're mainly going to be talking about Bun B himself because I feel like when it comes to certain groups like an Outkast or like UGK, there's always that one member that really sticks out and that people really love. For example, with Outkast is Andre 3000. For example, with UGK is Pimp C. Pimp C was the more louder, brasher, and more like raw. You get what I'm saying? He was very crude, he was very brash, but Pimp was always authentic, and so was Bun B. But I feel like people kind of sleep on Bun B, especially when we actually look at his musical career on his own, because when we actually look at what he was doing solo wise, it was phenomenal work, to be real with you. So let's actually talk about it. When it comes to the solo work, obviously Bun B had to put out a solo album while Pimp C was in jail on an aggravated assault charge, and he came out with his debut album, Trill. Now, this album kind of proved a lot of people wrong, saying like, yo, can Bun B really last without Pimp C? Because Bun B was always one of those ones that always gave credit to Pimp C, which, hey, I wasn't there, so I can't deny any of that, but he would always give credit to Pimp C from producing, creating the hooks, flows, and things like that. And Bun B was always a monster lyrically, but people were still sleeping on Bun B because Pimp C kind of always stood out as the guy that was like, yo, like, you know, he's a cool guy, he's always gonna say the cool things, while Bun B was the ferocious lyricist of the group himself. So with an album like, with a solo album like Trill coming out, and him having multiple producers, him having to kind of work on his own and get features from other people, it was a really good album. It kind of like threw everybody for a loop, I assume, outside of Houston, that really doubted Bun B himself. And I wasn't there at the time. Well, I mean, I technically was in Houston at the time. I was living there at the time, but I wasn't an adult to really see the impact of what Trill was doing during the time because I was a kid. This album came out like in 2005. I was maybe 9 or 10. Hey, go figure. But when it comes to his second album, Trill 2 or 2 Trill, whichever one it was, this was my first Bun B album that I ever heard when I was getting into hip hop. And this album, I played front to back. I remember buying this album on bootleg outside of a barbershop because back then, when you bought albums, especially if you wanted them cheaply, you had to go buy a bootleg until you realize how to use a computer and start allegedly downloading from a site maybe called LimeWire. Allegedly. Then again, I am part. What is it? I'm past the statute of limitations, so I don't care. But when it comes to 2 Trill, a really solid, I guess you could say sequel album. But when I look back at it now, especially when I did my whole binge of it last year of the whole Trill series, To me, this album doesn't hold up as much as well as Trill or Trilogy. It's still a good sequel overall, but for me, I definitely like Trill more, and I definitely like Trilogy a lot more as well, especially with that being, to me, Bun's best work in general. And going off of this album to Trill, this is after the passing of Pimp C, so you have some things on there, like I think a posthumous verse from Pimp C, but I don't know if it was like already pre-recorded and it could have been a UGK verse. I don't know the specifics on that, but we have an album like 2 Trill. Then we have an album like Trill OG itself, which is a mic, I mean, not a mic, which is an album that received a 5 mic rating itself. And if you guys don't know what a 5 mic rating is, basically it's like the highest rating you could get for an album, especially I believe what it's in the source. I could be wrong on that one. You guys can correct me in the comment section down below, but he got a 5 mic rating on Trilogy. And to be real with you, this is the best Bun B album, especially with you seeing the growth of Bun B, who Bun B is. And Bun B, like I've said before in previous videos, he's always been a mature rapper, but to see like how he actually put things together in this album right here, he still embodies Houston itself, but he still has this matureness to where he moved on with the times as well and gave us a really solid body of work with Trilogy. But then after that, he did have an album after that called Trilogy the Epilogue, which was kind of leftover songs and sessions from the actual Trill OG recording sessions, which it was a cool album. To me, that's kind of like DLC. Like I really don't count that towards the actual discography. To me, that's like I guess you could say it's kind of like a compilation project for me. It had some good songs on there overall, and it's a really solid body of work as well because he was recording for his best album. So he's definitely gonna have some good songs on there. But obviously that album doesn't hold up compared to an album like Trilogy itself. But then, you know, those albums right there, when it comes to Trilogy and Trilogy the Epilogue, those actually came out during the blog era. While Bun B has been rapping since the late 80s, this man's been rapping in multiple decades from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. And we already know what happened in the late 2010s. I mean, the late 2000s and the early 2010s, the blog era. One of my favorite, well, no, not one of my favorites, my favorite era of hip hop itself. And this is one of those things that a lot of OGs themselves, especially rapping back then, a lot of them, I'm saying a lot, like most, like a lot of them was not rapping during this era right there. I'm pretty sure because they couldn't keep up, but I digress. Bun B was one of those rappers that was rapping, putting out projects during the blog era, made his own mixtape during the blog era, like in the old school blog-esque, I mean, not blog-esque, but mixtape form where you went over other people's beats on the mixtape, no mixtape itself. But he was actually embracing a lot of the new school artists that were kind of emerging during that time. For example, some artists that he did this with was obviously Childish Gambino on his royalty mixtape, Big Crit on multiple projects, Freddie Gibbs on Straight Killer No Filler, Wale on Back to the Future, Big Sean's Finally Famous Volume 3, A$AP Rocky's debut album, Kodak Black Painting Pictures, even though that is from the SoundCloud era, Smino maybe in Nirvana, which is a lot more recent, but it still goes to show that he is embracing some of the newer school, Flatbush Zombies Vacation in Hell, and MGK Lace Up Deluxe. Now, I know I'm not naming every single feature that he's done in the blog era, but this is to kind of show you that he was embracing a lot of those newer school artists that were emerging during the blog era itself. And obviously, we cannot forget the person that was kind of founded in Houston and in the South himself, Drake. One of my favorite rappers of all time. It's kind of crazy that my favorite rapper of all time and one of my favorite rappers of all time collaborated so early in their careers, have showed so much support and love for each other over the years as well. I love both of them, god dang it. Yes, you guys call me a Drake glazer, but this video isn't about Drake. It's about me glazing Bun B, god dang it. But I mean, Bun B was really putting his hands and shoulders, and he was actually like giving these guys features, really good and solid features at that. He was not phoning them in. Oh my gosh, Bun. You're the GOAT, Bun. You're the GOAT. But we actually got to talk about his second win in his career, or what I deem as his second win in his career, when he actually started releasing projects during the SoundCloud/streaming era itself. Now, he did return with a project after his whole little Trilogy saga. He returned with like a few projects, a good amount of projects, and is still active to this day in music, which is so crazy to me, with his album Return of the Trill that was executively produced by, I know I keep saying this, one of my favorite rappers, Big Crit. Oh, this right here is a match made in heaven. Having Big Crit executively produce a Bun B album, oh my god, Oh my god, like I'm just fanboying out just thinking about that, because that sounds like a fever dream, but no, this actually happens. And Return of the Trill is such a solid project itself. Then we got the actual series Trill Static, which is crazy to even think about, because if you guys do not know what Trill Static is, it's when Static Selector, yes, Static Selector the producer, and Bun B got together, or get together because they're still doing it, and make a live album. And this was like so innovative back then for the time, because I'm not saying Bun B and Static Selector were the first to do it, but to see a legend, someone that's been rapping from the 80s, still willing to compete, still ready to keep the pen sharp itself and do it live in front of people, hear the beat, and have other rappers come through and be like, yo, you trying to get on this? Like, yo, like we filming live, like y'all could come through and like hit us up, come through to the studio, we writing our verses live, we putting the album together live. To me, I remember watching the first Trill Static, and I bought the album on vinyl. This was a moment right here for me, because I'm just like, yo, he's really writing and creating the album right here. Bun B is one that is not afraid of competition, and I freaking love it, man, because it's just one of those things that a lot of rappers from back then, to me, they don't really like compete still or hold up well. They kind of get stuck in their ways. Bun B has always been one to actually move on with the times and kind of be, you know, with the trends, and kind of actually innovated a little bit as well. So him doing this live album series with Static Selector, someone who gives out a bit more East Coast like, you know, production, especially with him working with Joey Badass a lot. Oh my gosh, this album Trill Static, the production and Bun's like furiosity on this album, and some of the people that he get in the studio with him. The fact of me, like I love Bun B, right? And I was talking about him embracing some of the newer school artists from the blog era. He also kind of uses his platform, the platform that he has that, you know, he's big enough to actually reach. He uses it to also, you know, push up other smaller artists as well. There are artists that I never heard of, that I've only heard of on Trill Static, that make me think, they gave a good verse on here. And if they wrote this live, what would their albums be like if they actually sat down and just had to actually sit and write with that? See, you get to thinking about that. So Bun B actually using his platform to actually push some of the newer generation as well, and these guys also heavily respecting Bun and be like, yo, we got to get in with the OG. Like, we got to check in with the OG. So I just love to see it right there. And then we also have another project from Bun B that came out by Corey Mo, who I think is kind of supposed to be like the protege slash successor to Pimp C as a producer. And this album Motrilla came out. It was cool. I didn't really hate it, but I didn't really love it. And then his last album that he came out with, besides that, was in the Trill Static series, Yokozuna Trill, which is an album that he came out with working only with Japanese or Chinese producers. I forget which one it was, but I heard the album, and I'm not gonna lie, in 2024, I gave it a lot of crap because I just felt like it was Bun B phoning in, but it's always Bun trying to do something different and a bit new for him. So I do like the fact that he's kind of stepping out of his comfortability zone and actually trying something new and a bit different. But after all that, we actually got to talk about some of the things that he's done outside of the music itself, with him actually coming out with a coloring book, him actually being a guest lecturer slash teacher at Rice University. But then we also got to talk about what was happening in the thumbnail, Trill Burgers. Now, I actually went to Trill Burgers. I actually went, supported, ate one of the burgers there, which is probably one of the best burgers I've had in my life, to be, you know, honest with you. I gotta say that, man, it's just great to see Bun B like kind of age gracefully within hip hop, because a lot of our OGs, you can see that a lot of them get bitter, a lot of them hate the newer school rappers. And while Bun has like had maybe some controversial things said like in the media, which to me the only thing I can really remember was him saying when Boosie comes out it's gonna be like when Mandela came out. That's the only controversial thing I remember him saying. But besides that, someone who really doesn't have any controversy, that really hasn't been like, you know, super popular within the media because of drama, I gotta say that Bun B is one of those rappers to me that has aged really gracefully in hip hop, is one of the most well-respected figures in hip hop, and has done everything that you're supposed to do as an OG itself. So I just got to give Bun B his flowers, because this is a whole glaze fest of me just talking about Bun B, just giving him his flowers. But I feel like Bun B is one of those, he's one of those like hidden slash slept on like legends that we never really talk about. And I talked about this in the show before when I was talking about No Mixtape for the 15-year anniversary, which is crazy to say out loud. But I was talking about this on the show, and I was just like, yo, like this kind of makes me want to make a video on the channel about it, because my favorite type of like hip-hop is Southern hip-hop, and obviously one of my favorite rappers, my favorite rapper of all time, is Bun B. So I thought I need to make a video about Bun B, and this video probably isn't the best video to actually encapsulate everything Bun B has done, but god dang it, these videos are supposed to be like a personal thing. These are supposed to be like a history documentary like series. It's supposed to just be giving you more of like stuff that I feel, stuff that I lived through, and just like how I see it through my perspective itself. So yeah, Bun B, super legend, legendary artist, a rapper that should be like the archetype for all OGs. Even though all OGs don't move like him, he definitely is one of those rappers that I probably respect the most in hip hop for what all he has done in terms of like embracing the new school, moving with the times, not being stuck in his ways when it comes to making music itself. I just love everything that Bun B does, man. I love everything he really stands for within hip hop itself. And I love the maturity and growth from his career in UGK, him branching out, doing his solo thing, and still being able to stand the test of time itself. So yeah, Bun B, the legend, the GOAT himself. But you guys let me know what you think about Bun B down in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about me doing a video like this and actually kind of like going over Bun B's career, like as I've actually experienced it through myself. I'm not trying to give you, like I said, a history lesson on Bun B because I wasn't there. I can't tell you about the impact of that stuff. I can tell you about the impact of the stuff when I was alive, how I experienced it. So yeah, like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. If I had to recommend some albums for you from Bun B itself, Trill OG, the Trill Static series itself, Return of the Trill. And yeah, those are the albums that I recommend if you want to get into Bun B, you have not heard Bun B, and you just like, dang, give me some of his solo works. Now, obviously, UGK, Riding Dirty, Dirty Money, Underground Kings, the actual self-titled album when Pimp got out of jail. Those are the projects that I definitely recommend. And I also forgot to even mention the monster feature run that he was having while Pimp C was in jail. I don't know which feature run was better, the blog era or the feature run that he had when Pimp was in jail. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comment section down below because those right there, Bun B was going crazy during that era too. I didn't mention it in the video, but he was going crazy during both eras. But like I said, let me know what you think about Bun B down in the comment section down below. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. This has been another episode of the Dark Sages Interlude. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you want more hip hop content. My name is Chase the Dark Sage, and I'm out. Peace.